I am recording this now, so I wanted to make sure that you guys know that. We are recording this also via video, and we will now be sharing these out on YouTube as a new storage place for us, in addition to, of course, linking everything up on Relay Connect like we usually do. But we now have the tool and access of YouTube to be able to share that out, and we'll get that to you. As folks are continuing to come on, we're just sharing in chat where we're from, where we relay, why we relay, and maybe even what are you looking forward to tonight, or what's got you in the mix. I think that conversation started a little bit in there already. Another thing I'll mention probably a couple times tonight, but if you would like to be directly emailed this recording and all of the resources once they're posted online, if you will either send me, Keisha, or one of the other presenters your email address, or just share it in the chat, then we will make sure that we pull that information and you get information directly in your inbox, and send that all out within the week or so, now that we've kind of got the kinks out. Just a couple housekeeping things. Actually, why don't we do this? Why don't I let us all that are going to present tonight, why don't we share a little bit about who each of us are, and then I'll come back and do a few housekeeping things. My name is Keisha McKinney. I have been relaying for a lot of years. I think if I do the math, we're getting close to 2 decades, which is scary, but that means I'm getting older. But I started relaying just because it was a good thing to do in my local town. I was in a small rural community, and it was one of our staple community events, and so I wanted to get involved. And then a couple years in, I took my first survivor lap, and of course that changed everything. I understood in a different way what relaying was all about, and just seeing my friends on the sidelines cheering me on made such a difference. And I've served in lots of different roles in our region, and currently serve as the South Region Communications Lead. And in that role, I get to manage the nationwide online chair and social media chair training. So as we talk tonight and you think of new topics, please share those, because we are already starting to work on our 2020 plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and then Kendra, my other co-presenters, to let you guys know about them.
Hi everybody, I am Chris Doe, and I am from a town about 65 miles west of Chicago in DeKalb. In Illinois, there are several other DeKalb counties throughout the nation. I started relaying in 2001 after trying for several years to find out what relay was about, and finally just called the office and got connected and showed up, and I haven't quit since. I started relaying for my mom, who had was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1997 and passed away in 2002. But since then, all the work that we have done, the strides that have happened and the research that has happened has caused or allowed women to live and survive with the type of cancer that my mom had at the time, which was a very rare form of breast cancer. So I'm very proud to be working with American Cancer Society and Relay for Life. I'm an event leadership team member with my local relay here. I'm also a member of Team Relay Nation, who relays throughout the globe to different events. I'm the area lead for Illinois in the North Central region, and I'm also a National Volunteer Training Team member. I'm the content lead this year for Volunteer and Staff Partnership, and I'm really excited to be on here with everybody and help you learn a few tips.
Hi, my name is Kendra. I'm an area lead event mentor. My positions have really changed in the last 3 months. I'm in Silicon Valley in California. It's about half an hour, depending upon traffic, south of San Francisco. With no traffic, it's a half an hour. With Friday afternoon, it's about 2.5 hours worth of traffic. I started relaying just literally because someone asked. I'd been looking for a volunteer position for 4 years. Someone said, hey, do you want to do this? My answer was, of course. At this point, I'm happy to say I'm 41 and cancer-free, which doesn't sound like a lot to other people, but every time I meet a new doctor, they're shocked. I'm the only person in my family who doesn't have their purple shirt. Every other person in my family that's a direct bloodline has a purple shirt. So I'm super excited, and it goes back to all the prevention and following up and going to your doctor like you're supposed to. Later on in tonight's presentation, I will be introducing amazing Tina Hannon, who's our social media chair for Relay for Life of the Delta. And when we get there, I'm going to have her present herself at that point. So back over to Keisha.
Thanks, you guys. I really am excited and thankful for these two ladies, fellow volunteers, and we've frankly have always met virtually. And so it's just exciting to get to share together and each everybody bringing their expertise and making us better and just in the fight and all the things that we do. So a couple housekeeping things. This call is being recorded, and we will post that online and make sure we get those resources out. If you got email to me directly, you're welcome to share your email address to me or in the chat box, and we will get that back to you as we get that all posted online. Please keep yourself on mute. Just in general, there'll be times if you want to speak up and have a question or speak into what we're talking about, you're welcome to unmute and do that. Those of us presenting have our video on because we are sharing this on YouTube, but you don't have to do that if you're just participating. And please participate in chat. That's a big part. We're all kind of watching what's going on when we're not presenting. So if we can answer a question or you have something going on that you're curious about, put it in there. And then if we don't get to it at the time, we'll come back at the end, address any of those things. And if we need to go into demo mode and really show some of the things we've talked about, if you don't practically know how to do that, we are prepared to share those with you, and we'll do that later at the end of the call. We're going to talk a lot tonight about Facebook as a platform, just frankly because it's kind of default mode. It is a place when it comes to social media and the American Cancer Society and specifically Relay for Life volunteers that we focus on, but the principles, especially for this topic from an organizational standpoint, apply to any of your platforms. We're talking specifically tonight really about equipping you to be organized in your role so that this isn't your full-time job and you're not doing this all the time as a volunteer with all the other things that you have to do. There's going to be a lot of links. We have them ready in notes, and we're going to try to make sure we share those with you. But if you have a resource that some of these have frankly come up from this part, if you have a resource that we're not linking to that you know is super helpful, please share that in the chat as we go through this so that everybody can have access to that. And we'll include that. One of the pieces of follow-up is a list of these links in a document so you have access to all of them from just our own digging around and having that. So with that, we're going to go and get started. And this is really our goal for tonight, is to share practically how to gather, organize, schedule, and dream about the best social media content for your local event. As we've built the content for this, it's really coming from the heart of this is what the 3 of us would do, 4 of us with Tina's example. We stole some of the things she did to put in here as ideas. But what we would do practically if we were in this role, which we've all been in, and how we would make it through, you know, posting and not doing this all the time. This is not your full-time job. We do not want it to be your full-time job, and so we want you to feel like you have the tools that you need to be able to do this as a volunteer and still make sure your community is connected and knows what's going on with your local events. So, why does a calendar help? I already mentioned staying organized. This is not your full-time job. It also helps you see, are you covering what I would just call all the topics? And it's just making sure that there are certain times a year, obviously right now recruiting and into the beginning of the year, recruiting is so big and what you're heavy on. But don't forget that some of those last minute teams might be sponsor teams, might be corporate teams. They may just waited to the last minute. So you don't want to not do recruiting type things later in the year as it gets closer to your relay. And same thing for fundraising. We want to do year-round fundraising. We don't want to just wait till right before the event to talk about that topic. So as you're looking at the content you're putting out there, are you sharing mission information so people know that? Are you sharing recruiting information? Are you sharing fundraising? Are you recognizing people all year long? And then just some general year-round info that, whether it's from the American Cancer Society, facts about Relay for Life, things that are timeless. We call that evergreen content. It can go and happen any time of the year. A calendar helps you connect with your community, finding your method and then working the method instead of letting the process work you, which is kind of what happens when we don't and aren't organized. But you are, as the social media, as a person behind your social media platforms more specifically, and also your website, you are an official communication tool. And the challenge is to think of yourself as the marketing arm of a small business. And so what would be the steps and things you would do, even if it's having a monthly marketing meeting with yourself? You know, just like you would if you were in a corporate environment, you're going to go to all the meetings on Mondays or Fridays or whenever your team at work would have those, you would hear all the notes. Then you're going to come back to your marketing team and you're going to say, here's our plan, or we're going to make a plan based on this information. And so that challenge just really helps you think differently about the content of what you have in front of you. So what does practically an editorial calendar look like? And this is the term, I'm using this term editorial calendar because it's frankly just a term that marketers and communicators use kind of in the biz, in the field. It's a calendar with all your stuff in it. So we use the term editorial calendar because it's just a fancy term for what it is. It's just basically saying a calendar that's organizing the content you're going to put out on your social media channels and platforms. So there are online tools. Practically, I went in, this is just a screenshot example of what it could look like for my relay calendar, all the little yellow things, to be kept. And if that's the way your brain works, which is how mine works, but having all the reminders come at you, or you can see in a glance or by week what those are, this is a really great tool. I have Gmail, so this is Gmail, but whatever email you use, you can do. There are also some online tools like Slack that you can do. A lot of this is going to depend on how your brain works and how you feel less overwhelmed and more organized. So as we go through all of these and we go through all the things today, know that really that's what I should have put on the goal slide. Less overwhelmed, more organized, so you can get more done in less time and spend time on things that aren't so like administrative. All right. And if you have, as we go through these next couple slides, if you personally use a different kind of online tool or paper tool, share those and let us know. Chris says she colors hers purple. Well, duh, that's what I should have done. You know, like anything purple means, that's why I've got my purple shirt on tonight. I mean, anything purple means relay. So yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're using this calendar mixed with your other calendars and your brain needs to visually see that mixed up. Another way is to simply use a paper calendar. And this is actually, this is content from my personal blog, but I literally took this on my counter. The calendar is actually still sitting right here beside me, but it's purple. My world is purple. So I bought, this is a Dollar Tree calendar when back to school happened. And it just shows when I'm gonna post, and the little check marks mean I've actually scheduled it. It lets me, lets me know. Sometimes when I don't have that calendar in front of me and I'm planning at a coffee shop or something, I will write out the dates, like you can see on the lined journal there on the left. And with that, that was actually my Instagram plan. I'm trying to work on a grid there. And so I was trying to say white background, picture, quote, white background, picture, quote, like trying to keep my rhythm. So again, whatever works for you, but it's you working the system instead of it controlling how you do things. The note-taking space you use should include a couple things: a space to gather information, like in your meeting or just if you're doing online research, anything like that. a place to store or organize that into lists of posts that you might want to do, and then a place to check off what you have done. Because we always get interruptions, whether it's kids or life, or we had 1 hour to work on this on a Saturday morning and that hour ding has happened and we've got to walk away. We know what's been done and you can come right back to it. Again, you're working that system. And then one other good paper tool, if you have it, I didn't have it, so I went with the Dollar Tree, but if you have it, another really great tool is the Relay for Life Planner. And the reason it's so great is, one, it's all branded and fun, but it has a lot of dates listed in there for you that are things you can highlight as you go through, whether it's what type of cancer theme it is that month, or just other holidays that you might want to have in mind when you're doing that. And hey, Kendra, I'm just totally putting you on the spot. Will you remind me what you do with the Merman calendar and why that's helpful for you too? Or is it just fun?
For me, it's mostly fun, but I do about more than 15 relays. So I use the paper calendar to track the social media and marketing, and I use the Merman calendar to track meetings and where I should be. So I actually use them separately, but they both come with me everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Merman calendar is a pirate calendar this year, which is so fun. But I love where you're headed with that, and that is you use 2 different calendars, and you're keeping meetings on one and all the things, and you're keeping social content on one and all the things. And that's really great, because even written, you may have to highlight them to keep them separate or some code, and that's good. Again, it's kind of one of those self-managed things that you just get your system and work the system. So I love that. I knew you had a good reason, and I couldn't remember but what I loved was that this Relay Planner has some content in it for you that you don't have to go research, and gives you some things to highlight as you go through. So Kendra, I'm going to turn it over to you. And we did have a question come up in there. So as I pass, is where did you get your Relay Planner? And Chris answered a little bit, but as we go to that, will you just mention where you get your Relay Planner, how they could do that?
Yeah, the Relay Planner, as well as Relay calendars, not the Merman and not the upcoming Pirate calendar, but the ACS Relay for Life calendar and planner, I've gotten from my staff partner. Not every staff has them, and they honestly, some years they come out and it's like, yeah, we have them in November, and some years they come out and yeah, we got them in March. So it can be a little different, but just talk to your staff partner and ask if you guys can have one. Honestly, normally by March, April, May, they have more than they ever could use. So if your staff partner doesn't have one, also reach out to the relayers that you see on social media, or reach out to Keisha, Chris, or I, and we can probably find you one as well. The Merman calendar, I'm actually going to let Tina talk about later, since she's going to be actually in the 2020 Pirate calendar. So I'll let her talk about that later. But now we're going to talk about how we find the information to post. So Keisha talked about all these different things and different things to post, especially like the evergreen stuff that can be posted anytime. Marketing people say that you want to post at least 2 times a week, and generally not more than 2 times a day, unless that day of is specifically relevant to right now in terms of your event or something that happened. So you want to keep that in mind when you look at your content, and that's part of why you want to balance your content. If your event is in 2 days, you don't necessarily want to post a huge mission thing that could be posted at a different time when people are wondering, oh my gosh, it's going to rain, what are we going to do? So you want to make sure to balance the content based off of what they need and what you want to share and what's relevant to right now. There's all different things, like Keisha said, you always want to recruit, and you always want to share the mission. The mission is something that people, especially fundraisers, often forget about. You forget why you're doing this. And people who are brand new don't necessarily know where the money is going. So you want to continuously promote that and share that. You also want to talk about fundraisers, not only the fundraisers that your event is doing, not only Relay, but most of these teams are having smaller fundraisers, and the Relay next door or, you know, National is doing fundraisers as well. Share those and make partnerships. Get all that information out. Your event can share a fundraiser that ends up getting all sorts of fundraising from a different event because they were super excited and liked it. And you can see something that they did, and then you guys try the same thing. So make sure to promote fundraisers, even if they're not your event, and even if they're not specifically your area or your teams, but obviously always highlight your teams in your event. You also want to recognize participants, teams, sponsor, ELT, volunteers. You want to make sure to thank them. You want to say thank you when they register. You want to recognize them when they reach their fundraising goals or reach other goals. It's not always about the dollar. Maybe you're super excited. One team's been gone for 3 years and now they're back. How exciting is that? You want to highlight that. You want to also make sure to reach out to your sponsors. When you tag sponsors and teams, if you can tag them, tag them. That's a great way. We say we want 7 touches between asks. So when you're going to ask a sponsor for a donation or to show up at an event or an in-kind donation, you want to have 7 touches between the time you ask and you ask again. Tagging them on social media is a touch. That means that they're interacting with you and you're interacting with them, and they're going to love that because now their community knows that you're giving back. And you always want to promote your event. You always want to remind people when you're relaying, where you're relaying, and what's going on. This time of year can be difficult because everyone's saying, when's our 2020? Where are we going to be? What are we going to do? You don't have to go into specifics if you're not there yet. Say, we're not sure where we're going. Do you want to be a part of it? Do you want to be part of the discussion? And promote volunteering as being part of the ELT. But remember, you're sharing all this different content. Part of your job as social media is to get people excited to come to your event. We're going to go on to the next slide. Yeah. So where to find the content? This can be a challenge, but there's so many different places. Content is everywhere. First and easiest thing is go to meetings. You can go to your area meetings. You can go your area relay meetings. You can go to your ELT meetings. You can go to your team captain meetings. And that's when you're going to find out about the new teams, about the sponsors, about contests, whether they're nationwide, local, area, or just your ELT putting on a contest. That's when you're going to find out, oh my gosh, this person hit $1,000 already. They're, or someone else is an all-star. That's where you can learn that stuff and promote it. And you can find out who you want to highlight. Maybe there's somebody that came and, they're all of a sudden relaying for a new reason and they want to share that story. So it's coming up with what you want and then what the rhythm is. You can see on this slide, we talk about rhythm a lot. If you post about a new team every day in 1 week, people are going to stop reading it. So it's about finding that balance. Finding when on your calendar, like Keisha's calendar was a great example. You saw she had one post where it was going to be a picture, another post where it was text, another post where it was something with a white background. And she was cycling through so that people are actually paying attention. If you do the same thing over and over, they're not going to pay attention. They're going to block it out and they're going to skip. You're not going to show up as much on their radar. You want them to see you, what you want, and you want to interact with them. Like I said before, you always want to highlight upcoming fundraisers and mission events that are coming up. Every month there's all sorts of mission stuff happening. Highlight it. Even if it's not happening in your specific area, that doesn't mean that that's not where the donor dollars are going. Donor dollars are going in your area and outside your area, but we're all in one big community. You also always want to recruit. Think about recruiting survivors. What can you do specifically for survivors? What can you do specifically for caregivers, youth, businesses, you name it? And talk about what was shared at those meetings. When you go to those meetings, think about what was exciting and what you want to share, especially to somebody who wasn't at that meeting. Next slide. Sorry, we were going back and forth. We're good. There's also so many other places other than meetings. Chris is going to start loading up all sorts of options, but there's things that come out from ACS. There's things that come out from Relay. There's things on the brand toolkit, society source emails. Your community manager is going to send you stuff. The mission person in your area, it's just going to come at you at every direction. So much so that literally I was in Costco yesterday and I saw a picture with the ACS logo and I was like, oh wait, what's that? And took a picture. You'll be seeing that on my Facebook in a couple weeks. So it's really everywhere. It's finding where works for you and what makes sense. I strongly and cannot recommend highly enough the brand toolkit. Not only does it have resources, but you can take pictures, you can edit it, and they have editable options. Society Sources email is amazing. Relay Communicator, just the list right there is just amazing. And cancer.org. Everyone just says cancer.org, but the cancer.org cancer calendar is my go-to. When I sit down with my calendar, the first thing I do is open the cancer.org cancer calendar and see what they have this month, and then build on after that and around that. There's just so much out there. I want to go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about it's also finding content from friends and family and people you're with. Our amazing Chris had a trip to New York and she actually got to see a Hope Lodge, and she took amazing pictures and posted them on Facebook. And it was just her personal Facebook that she posted on. But we reached out to Chris. Thank you, Keisha. Keisha reached out to Chris and said, hey, this is amazing. You did something great. You went somewhere fun. Can we share this? Because here in California, we don't have a Hope Lodge. My closest Hope Lodge is easily, I think, probably a 12-hour drive to a Hope Lodge. So seeing them virtually is really the only way I'm ever going to see them. So seeing them and hearing that experience from Chris, I can then take those pictures, I can take that story, and I can share that with my community. And I can say, this is where our dollars are going. And my community looks and goes, well, we might not be, we're not going to go there. We're going to go to, like I said, we're in Silicon Valley. So we're always like, we're going to go to Stanford, or we're going to go to UCSF. And it's like, well, maybe that's not where the best doctor is. Maybe the best doctor is on the other side of the country. And maybe that's when you do use the Hope Lodge. Because if it's right in your backyard, you're going to be at home anyway. But when it's on the other side of the country, you're going to be using Hope Lodge. And thanks to Chris, we get to see what this amazing Hope Lodge looks like. Chris, do you want to tell us about it?
It was very cool. So they are in a building in the middle of Times Square. In the background of the center picture that's on here is actually the Empire State Building that they can see from the terrace. That's the picture on the top left. When you walk in, their ACS offices are also in this same building. So not only do they have the Hope Lodge there, but they also have the ACS offices. So all these resources that are available to patients and caregivers and anybody that stops by and wants information on the American Cancer Society, which I thought was really cool because not every Hope Lodge has their office there. I've been to the one in Iowa City also, and that one is strictly just a Hope Lodge. I think they had like 40 some rooms. This Hope Lodge and office is 62 floors tall, so it encompasses probably half of the building, and then they've got apartments on the other half of the top of the building. And it just is very cool. They've got a relaxation room where they can go in and just sit and meditate if they want. They have somebody that comes in and does yoga, does Reiki, I think is what she said, and just some different things for their patients to be able to participate. Joe Gillette, whom I'm sure many of you have heard his name, is actually working on and works very closely with this Hope Lodge to do what they're going to call Hope Lounge, I think is what he called it, where they're going to work on once a month, hopefully bringing in some local entertainers to entertain the patients that are there, because they don't have the means necessarily to get out and enjoy the city and enjoy the nightlife and enjoy something other than thinking about their cancer treatment or what's going on. They need that distraction. So he's working on something with them. They also host a relay here, which I thought was very interesting as well. So the New York City relay is hosted at this ACS office, which then can also get the participants from the patients that are at the Hope Lodge plus their caregivers involved in the relay event. And they put their luminaria out on the terrace, and they have they create a track that goes out to the terrace and then in and around just in front of the kitchen area, which is like a large family room there. So it was very interesting to see how they utilize their Hope Lodge, their library, and their resources. So I'm very, very lucky that I got to visit.
I'm just going to interject here real quick and then we'll let Chris switch over. One of the cool things with curating, and Kendra alluded to this, is if you're not connected in a greater way through social media to just other people, maybe put that on your radar in your role as ask your staff, who are some other events you could follow, who are some leaders in your region or state or area that you could follow. And, you know, just over the course of even frankly just attending trainings like this, I found people like Chris and Kendra. That's how we met, is through chat in a training like this. And so following them on social exposes me to everything going on in Illinois and California, and that's very different than what I would see in Texas, Oklahoma, or Arkansas. And so that's how you find these things. And even a couple weeks ago when ACS CAN was at Cancer Lobby Days, there was just so much good content that was happening there, seeing people recognized, seeing the National Luminaria ceremony. So really just seeing so many things that other people are doing just helps you just connect in a greater way. Because again, we don't have a Hope Lodge in Arkansas. We're getting one in Dallas, so that'll be close for us. And we have in Houston, of course. But to get to see this and, like you said, share the story behind this may be where you have to go get treatment. And yet we get to benefit from things that are happening all over, whether it's in our state or not. So that's the bigger American Cancer Society story we get to tell. So don't be afraid. It's the magical word, again, in the biz is called curating. And it just means gathering something from somewhere else. And if it's someone's personal picture and it's not like a big ACS thing, it's pretty easy to just direct message somebody and say, hey, I loved your post about New York City and the Hope Lodge. Can I use your pictures on our social media page or something? It's just kind of a courtesy more than anything.
Yeah, and before we move on, I just want to highlight and see if Winona is interested in sharing. She says that she does a Mission Monday and a Team Tuesday. I've heard of Mission Mondays before, but I've never heard of the Team Tuesday. Are you interested in sharing? She's still on mute, so I'm going to take that as a not over the phone. Thanks so much. I'll see if she posts and comment.
Keisha, we've actually done shout out Sundays before also, where we specifically on Sundays have done shout outs to new teams or teams that have changed levels or individuals that have done something amazing or have fundraised awesomely or changed fundraising levels. And we call it Shout Out Sunday.
She did comment. She said, Team Tuesdays is recognition. So I love that, recognizing teams.
She's driving, so she can't unmute herself. But yeah, Survivor Sunday, Kelly shared, they do Survivor Sunday. I love that, telling those stories while people can consume it. And then fundraising Fridays, whether it's sharing about a fundraiser or sometimes at certain times of year, we need to share fundraising ideas and getting some new things in front of people. And again, that's great when we see, like you were saying earlier, Kendra, like the things that other people are doing in their community that we may not have thought of yet in our community, and we could use the same fundraiser idea, and well, we're never competing with each other, but not compete, if you know what I mean. So Throwback Thursday and Wisdom Wednesday, that's a great way to just put something inspirational out there.
I know Tina Hannon from Delta, who's going to talk later, we wear purple on Wednesdays and ask people to take pictures of their relay shirts. She gets a lot of comments. So anyway, to the next slide. It's all you, Chris.
Excuse me. Thank you. So what does this practically look like? So the one thing that you want to do is make sure that you get organized. Keisha talked a little bit about that. Setting aside a consistent time each week or a couple of times each month or each week to plan your content. And I will say that planning the content is key in your organization, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then making sure that you schedule it. I often send myself a calendar reminder of when I'm going to do something or when I want to make sure that I take care of any posts, or if I want to check in and see what else is being posted that I might need to share. I try and do that a couple of times a week, but I set some time aside. So think about maybe an evening or lunchtime or Saturday or Sunday, any time that you can dedicate some time to yourself. And make sure that when you're doing this, that you get into a place where you're not going to be distracted. We all have distractions throughout our days, and you want to plan, even if it's 30 minutes, some time that's dedicated just to you to do this, where you're not going to be distracted. And that might be to put your phone on mute or set your phone in the other room so that you can work on this. Put calendar reminders to yourself, which is something that I do, or text yourself. I often do that a lot. I send myself texts. Do whatever you need to do that's going to keep you organized, and adopt that system and just put it into place. You're not going to do it if you don't actually act on it. So you've got to make sure that you act on the system that you want to create. Also, something to think about too is having a separate email address specifically for this calendar, or the posts that you want to make sure that come back to you so that you can keep track of them, or a specific email folder that you can move things into when they come in, a place where you want to store those. I actually have both. I have a separate email address, and I do have a folder in another email address that I use, just so that I can keep that content separate and can get to it easily. Responding, you want to make sure that you respond to people that are maybe posting on the items that you've scheduled, and leave some time to yourself to make sure that you respond back to them. If it's one night a week, or maybe every other night for, again, like a half an hour, just to scan through, and you don't want to forget about responding. You want to pay attention when you've put out a contest or a question for feedback. That's really important. Or if you've done a survey or a poll, you want to make sure that you have that time to be able to get to that feedback or respond in that way also. Planning. This is probably one of the most important pieces, I feel, after organizing is planning what you're going to do, taking all the things that you've gathered, everything in consideration, laying them out in a way that you are organized and that will help you be organized, so that your post makes sense. You don't want to have a post out there and then go, oh, darn, I forgot to do this, or, oh, I forgot to add this. You want to try and get everything in place before you schedule your posts. Yes, once in a while you might forget to add something. You can go out and edit it. But if at all possible, make sure you get everything in line before you do your posts. Go back to your saved folders if you need to. Pull out any meeting notes that you might need. Anything that's going to help you go into that post or whatever you're scheduling. Don't forget to add fun holidays in there as well, or fun items. As Keisha and Kendra were talking about a little bit earlier with the relay planner, and there are specific dates marked in there, that's a great time to add something, a fun fundraising aspect to whatever that day is that's marked on there, or add something a little catchy that is coinciding with that date. Look ahead a month or two if you need to, and work that into as well. It's not a problem to pull in, if you've got something coming up in 2 months, and pull that into what you're going to schedule now so that people can get that marked on their calendars as well. Another thing to remember or to try and do when you're planning is what you're going to make it look like. You can go pull a different design. You can add a video into your post. The one thing that I like to use is Canva. Canva is a free online platform, I guess is what you want to call. But you can create different designs. You can make your posts flashy. It's just really fun. It's a fun way to make your posts catchy. So scheduling, you want to make sure to use the tools that are available to you to schedule your posts. Facebook does have a scheduling tool in there. Hootsuite does as well. And then making sure that you put reminders on your phone or your calendar. Instagram with Tailwind and Hootsuite, they also have the scheduling ability. Sorry, I'm flipping my notes here. So make sure that you utilize those tools. The Facebook one is very easy to use. I'm not an Instagram person, so I assume that's pretty easy as well. But they're pretty straightforward. Other platforms that you can use are Buffer and Trello that will help you with your scheduling as well. I did mention Canva, so I just wanted to bring that up again. Or PicMonkey, they're great tools for graphics. The one nice thing about Canva is you can also pull in any graphics that you may have, so you can pull in, if you take a picture of somebody's really cool relay shirt and you want to pull that picture into your Canva, you can do that. You can upload that and use that as part of your design as well. Find a template that will be welcoming. That's the other thing that you want to think about. Catchy and welcoming is what you want to do. Leave some room when you're scheduling your posts about in the moment stuff. So every once in a while, you'll see if you're on any of the national event planning pages or the national volunteer pages, people will throw out stuff just in the moment, in that week. And you want to make room to be able to pull those in and share those and utilize those posts. We can't always plan for everything, and so you want to be able to be adjustable and give yourself some room to be able to do the in the moment stuff. We talked a little bit about using some catchy, fun themes like the Mission Monday, the Thankful Tuesday. A couple of other ideas are Way to Go Wednesday. We talked about Fundraising Friday. You can do Saturday Spotlight, Shout Out Sunday, just something catchy. And use that kind of as your theme for that week, and do it, make sure you do it obviously on that specific day. Make sure that you take some time to look at analytics and find out when your people are online. Post your content when they'll see it. Kendra talked a little bit about that earlier. and I think Kelly had asked the question about, is there a good time to post? And Kendra, I think I saw it fly by like between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Did I see that right?
In my area, every area is different, and so it just depends upon when your area. For my area, I normally post between 6 and 7 because our big time of viewing is between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. and that's when we have the highest amount viewing. But I believe the next training that Keisha's leading is going to go over that and how to look at it and how to adjust and calendar accordingly.
Awesome. So don't forget to go or attend the next one, which is October 14th. So there's a quick plug there. Dreaming. You want to dream a little bit. Give yourself some opportunity to create something that is your vision, and plan for what's coming and how you could do better instead of always having to react in the moment. The goal here is that you want to make sure that you're proactive and that you're planning instead of being reactive. So don't forget to dream. And it's back to Kendra.
Great. I want to make sure we've got Tina unmuted.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yay! We can hear you. We can't see you though. So, or it could be, I think you had a different, oh no, we can see you. It's just
sorry.
It's all good. So Tina, will you start just by introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Tina Hannon. I am the third-year event lead for Relay for Life at the Delta, and I've also just kind of assumed the role of social media, and I really love it. I really liked using social media as a way to reach out, to connect information, and also just, it's been a really great platform for helping people find us that may not have found us otherwise, just out in the community. So.
Great. And where do you get your information and your content from? And how do you know when to post?
So I developed this little acronym that I've been using, and I try to have most of the posts tie into it, and it's FIRE, F-I-R-E. So fundraising updates, I do those every single week once the season gets rolling, and I try to do a post that says, hey, here's where we're at, kind of tracking towards our goal. We are at 50,000, our goal by the end of the month is 55, or whatever that looks like. So I try to create that buzz around fundraising. I've noticed that a lot of times if I'm like, hey, we are $75 away from our goal, that goal is going to hit within the hour because people just get excited about fundraising. I actually had one lady who drove 45 minutes to come and drop off a check because she saw that fundraising post, and she wanted to come and hand me the check personally so it could count towards our goal that day. So I try to tie in fundraising a lot, push towards the goal, also use that as recognition of, who's on fire that week, who's making really big impacts on their fundraising efforts. The I is for info, so info on our event that's specific to the planning process. I really try to tie in, here's our theme laps, here's what's going on for survivors. We really did a big push this year to support survivors and have a lot going on for them at our event. So I wanted to make sure that that information was communicated and over-communicated before our event happens. R is for recognition. So everything that we could possibly recognize, I try to make sure it happens on our Facebook page. So anybody that wins a contest, anybody who is just doing awesome things out there in the relay world, I try to tie that in. And I use Canva for everything. Canva is a really great way to have those templates ready to go and like plug in names or teams or what's happening. And then E is for educate and engage. So tying in the mission, making sure that we are putting out those posts that are fun. We do Awareness Wednesdays, and that came out of, we really just wanted to see more relay shirts out in our community. So we created that fun little name, and every Wednesday we'll have a post, and it'll just be something quick that I schedule out for, a month or 2 months at a time, every Wednesday at around 10 a.m. And it just asks people like, hey, on your social media page, post you in your relay shirt or with your relay gear, and then also show us here so we can tell you how pretty you look, and that kind of thing. So that's mostly where I try to tie in the posts is those different ways of reaching out. I don't want it to all be the same. Like Kendra said, I think it's really easy to tune out what's going on in social media if it all looks identical. So I try to keep the content kind of all over the place.
And what organizational system do you use?
So I start with a calendar for the month, and I put that together while we're at ELT meetings or team captain meetings, and I write down every fundraiser that's happening, so that way I can make sure there's either a Facebook event that's already been put up, or I'm going to create one and link it, and I post our calendar on the first of each month, and it's got the link to every fundraiser that's happening. It's also just a good visual. I have a lot of people that are like, I screenshot it and I keep it all month, and I just check back if I'm not doing something that night. I'm going to find the dine and donate that's happening in town. So I start with that calendar, and I make sure that it's something that I can post. I make the calendar up really quick on Canva. Month to month, it's not a lot of work to readjust it. You know, you're just making it cute and seasonal. But I spend a lot of time just working on that calendar, and then I make I turn that into scheduling. So kind of like you guys talked about, I really like coming up with the calendar, figuring it out, and then sitting there and just kind of knocking out those posts to make sure that everything's up there and I don't have a lot to do, you know, when I'm at work on a Wednesday. You know, I want to make sure that that stuff's ready to go.
Great. What are some of the specific things you did for the 2019 season that, and what results did you get? I know the one that I've seen the most is your Wednesday shirts, the amount of interaction you've gotten. So can you share that with us?
So I wanted to try a lot of new things in 2019. So I'm like, you know what, we'll try it out a couple times. If it works, great. If not, move on, and like nobody cares. One of the big things that I wanted to really push was recognition. So I wanted to make sure that recognition was happening online and that I was posting things and then tagging people very consistently. So if the team did something great, I'm going to tag the team captain and as many of the team members as I happen to be friends with. And then I really got excited about sharing milestone recognition. So I didn't know that we had access to asking our staff partner to add us to a file, and it comes to you usually about once a week, and it says, hey, by the way, did you know you have these 3 people that hit Grand Club? These 4 people hit Hope Club. It's just a quick report. It comes out as an Excel spreadsheet. So something that I started doing is as Relay started rolling, I would have those posts already built in Canva, and I would just add in their name and say, great job, Elaine, you hit this milestone, and I would share it on our Facebook page. But then I also took it one step further, and if I was friends with that person on Facebook, I would share it on their personal page and say, great job, Elaine. I had like a pre-formatted script, and it said, hey, great job, Kendra. I'm so excited that you hit Grand Club. To Kendra's friends and family, that's a huge Relay accomplishment. Let's all join her in celebrating. By the way, if you want to continue and support her fundraising efforts, here's her link, and you can go here and donate. And we actually, I was kind of tracking it. You know, I didn't want to overly push the fundraising piece. I wanted it to be a big thank you. But by me adding the link, it kind of took the pressure off of them, you know, asking and reaching out to their friends. And I got a ton of really great feedback. I would also kind of check back the next couple of days and see, you know, who bumped up, who had some more fundraising dollars, because it was just fun to see that those posts were actually making an impact. And a lot of times it's hard to brag about yourself and your fundraising. So by me doing it for them, it was a way for them just to be like, oh, thanks, or, you know, share it or something like that. So that was one of my favorite additions for 2019. I also just straight asked my ELT to engage with our Facebook page. Like, hey guys, I put this content out there. I don't want to talk to myself. I would love for you to just go on, hit like, share, whatever you want to do, whatever that post makes you feel, let us know about it. And that really encouraged the ELT to go, you know, set up the notifications, but also really, you know that them sharing a post is going to make a big difference. Know that them sharing a post means more people heard about Relay that day. And it really didn't take them any time or effort. They didn't have to come up with the content. They were just getting excited about it and sharing it out there. And then something that I would recommend for everybody to do for social media on the day of your event, you're going to be crazy busy. It's going to be really hard to keep track of social media, but there's so much that's happening that you're going to want to let people know about. So I took our schedule and I just went on and I scheduled all the posts out for the day. The only one I wouldn't recommend scheduling in advance is food, because sometimes there's a delay. That's one that I learned. It was like, oh, we're running 20 minutes behind. Oh, shoot, I just told everybody and now they're headed over there. So food is probably the only one I wouldn't recommend pre-scheduling, but everything else, like, hey, guys, our Luminaria starts in 30 minutes. Now's a great time to head over there. Hey, guys, the cutoff for getting your names on the Luminaria scroll happens in an hour. Make sure you get over there, that kind of stuff. And we had a lot of people that were interacting with those posts, and then just making that energy happen for day of relay and say, oh, by the way, you know, it's warm out, we're in June, but I really am excited about Luminaria, so I want to make sure to go check it out. So I had a lot of fun with the day of relay posts, trying to make them catchy and fun and informational. And then I would also definitely recommend doing some sort of countdown. So we did a daily countdown. So each day, I started at 30 days. There was another, hey guys, 18 days till relay. It's a great chance, you know, to gather up those cans to save for the Luminaria bags. Or hey guys, it's, you know, 5 days out. Make sure you start drinking water now, because hydration takes a little bit of time for your body, that kind of stuff. But I definitely recommend a countdown. It just got people really, really excited.
And I just want to share that I was at Tina's relay, which was amazing. But I saw people who were coming late because it was a very, very hot day for us. And people were coming late saying that they were virtually relaying all day on social media. And that finally Tina had made some posts that they just couldn't sit in the air conditioning anymore. They had to come out. So it really did make a difference. Another question for you. How did you get to this point, and what advice do you have for fellow social media, online, and our community outreach chairs?
I would definitely say don't be afraid to ask for support in your role. So I definitely am super transparent. I ask ELT, you know, hey guys, I could really use your support in getting this message out there. Uploading it to a Facebook page doesn't do a whole lot. But you sharing and liking and commenting or reacting, that's really going to help us get the message out there. That's the fun part. That's the way to engage our community. I would also take your Facebook pages and find your local community. So for me, I live in Vacaville. There's like 15 different Vacaville community groups that I'm a part of. And when things are happening, that's a place that I would go to check. So that was a place that I wanted to make sure that relay event stuff was there. So if somebody was looking for something to do and it happened to be that, you know, weekend we had Bark for Life, I wanted to make sure it was on that community page so they could see it. So really just kind of connecting with your community. I would ask, you know, your ELT, like, hey, where do you check for information? If you're looking for some news on Facebook about our community, where do you go? What's helpful? And then I try to make sure that I'm supporting those community pages too. So I was really fortunate. There's a neighborhood page that's run by a lady who lost her mom to cancer 15 years ago. And she had never been to a relay event, started, you know, kind of popping up and testing the waters to see what relay was about. And then I just kept reaching out to her, you know, hey, thank you so much for coming, commenting on her post, trying to make sure that I was returning the social media favor. And she actually showed up to our event on the day of with an entire basket full of stuff just to hand out to survivors as she was walking the track. So it was just, you know, there's definitely people behind those social media pages. And I think that us remembering that with our community pages is really great. And also just asking our ELTs and our team captains, like, hey, make sure you're on our page. Make sure if anybody that you think would benefit from this information has access to our page, and just let it grow from there.
And we've seen a couple comments from Keisha. Where do you get these amazing graphics that you post?
So I search around, but mostly I go on Canva, and if I'm trying to create a Bark for Life advertisement, I'm just going to start searching dog and stuff is going to start coming up, and then I'm going to move it around and try to make it colorful, or try to make the fonts something that's a little bit easier to read. But mostly I default to Canva, canva.com. It is one of those things that I can go on there and create a week's worth of content in 20 minutes or less, because those posts are so easy and it keeps a lot of your stuff. So one year we had a quick little logo. It was the Once Upon a Time relay logo, and that was actually just last year. And I just had that ready in my files so I could upload and add it to anything else that I was doing. And it just made it like a quick personalization that was ready, locked and loaded whenever I wanted to add it in there.
And for those of you who don't know, Once Upon a Time was the theme for their relay. And so it was a logo that she used over and over. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I left it for you to explain. We saw the Mermen of Relay calendar. Can you tell us about the Pirates calendar coming out?
Yeah, so our 2020 calendar is Pirates themed. We've got people from all over the country in it. I'm very excited to be Captain Tina Rose, your May calendar pirate, and we are all raising money, and we are so excited. We've already covered all the printing, all the costs. So everything's going to be going back to the local relays to support their fundraising efforts. So the calendar is going to be supporting relays all over the country. It is ready for pre-order right now, and those ones will be coming out. They'll be out before the holidays. I'll make sure to share the link with Kendra if anybody would like to grab a calendar. We were really excited. It was a really fun project. Definitely took me out of my comfort zone to go dress up like a pirate and go to the local park and have those questions, but gave me a couple opportunities to talk about relay. And yeah, it'll be really fun. I'm really excited. Great holiday gift, great chance to support your local relays, and then also, share a calendar with your big relayers in your area.
And you aren't the only pirate on this call.
No.
We've got Kelly as well
yes,
from
Kelly's there
on this call. So definitely check out that pirate calendar, and you can see Tina and Kelly as pirates. And I've got one more question for you, Tina. What are you hoping to do better this year for your 2020 social media, as we now see some of the great posts that you've already done just in the last couple weeks?
Yeah, so I really want to continue to focus on recognition. I think that was, of all the takeaways, it's really great that we shared so much event information, but I had a lot of people that were like, hey, it was so fun that, we got to acknowledge our team coming back or any of that. I really want to make sure that I have a lot more photos up there of our local events. So I was really trying to push for that last year, of just making sure that the content looked like a Delta Relay, looked like it was something that was new and local. And so continuing to boost engagement. And I also want to make sure that our Instagram is just as fun and exciting as our Facebook page. So I'm working on exploring some new tools to get it scheduled out. Planoly is one that I'm trying out. But mostly my biggest tip so far is whatever content you post on the day, during the day on Facebook, at night when you get home after you've eaten dinner, Instagram's a little bit later of an audience, I'm noticing. Just copy that same picture, put it onto Instagram, shorten the caption, and add a bunch of hashtags. That's what I've learned so far.
Sounds great. And Keisha just put up, like I said, some of the ones that you've commented and put up lately on your Facebook. Do you want to share anything about any of these? Yeah,
so I try to keep it, keep linking back to the mission. So when I post something that's about the ACS mission, I try to link it back to cancer.org to create that familiarity with that. I also like the Amazon Gold. That one came straight from Kendra. She just had messaged me like, look how cool this is. Relay is in our homes. So we were excited about it. So I thought our community might be excited about it. I couldn't wait to post it. On the bottom left, every meeting, every event has an event page. And I try to make sure that those are posted as soon as we know the date. So we had some that we posted up till next May because we know the date for our car show, so it's on there. And it helps people plan, but also it makes it so your page isn't cluttered up with information on, hey guys, when's the next committee meeting? Hey guys, what's going on? It creates a spot for that information. And then I get super excited when we kick off the year. We were so excited. Within the first week of us launching our new relay site, we had 19 relay teams. So I wanted to really celebrate that. I ended up putting together a graphic for each of the teams and kind of posting them, a little bit at a time. I didn't want to drop all 20 team names on at once, because that kind of made nobody special. So that was just kind of one of the things. And I try to also make sure that I'm aware of what fundraisers are happening for teams, who it's supporting, who I can direct to. So that bottom one on the right is just talking about a LuLaRoe fundraiser that we're doing, and explaining, and somebody who has supported us for years and years with our fundraisers. So I really wanted to make sure I was spotlighting her business sponsorship, but also advertising her fundraiser and directing people over to that one.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tina. And thanks so much for sharing with us how you're making social media happen. You can see comments are blowing up about how everyone's so impressed and happy. I did put the links to the Facebook, both the Delta group as well as the Delta page. They do have both. So please feel free to follow them and see this amazing content.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you guys can see why Tina was the one we wanted to interview for this, and I thank you for hanging with us. Almost done, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. But Tina's even challenged me just watching her learn, and frankly, she has just upped her game. And for those of you that are like, whoa, this is new, I can't do it, like, Tina knows what she's doing, and she's in a generation that uses social, but from the graphics and so many of these things, she's come to trainings, and she's done one-on-one training with Kendra, and then she's just implementing things she's learning. So while she is thinking, and she knows I'm not negating any of her skill or talent, but she is really, just like the rest of us, learning, trying, learning, trying, learning, trying, and she's finding out what's working, what's helping her in her rhythm to manage this, to be an event lead and social chair is a lot. And so, it's awesome that, to have her brain, opened, and it's opened all of our brain to all these things. I do want to highlight a couple things I heard as your homework has appeared on the screen, but ask your ELT for help. And we cannot emphasize that enough. And one of the things I would say in this, when you're talking about calendar reminders and things, if in a meeting, when you're cleaning up your notes from a meeting, you heard that a certain team is going to be setting up for a fall festival fundraiser, guess what? You don't have to go personally to all the things. Text somebody from that team that's your point of contact, and it's okay in the meeting to be like, who's my point of contact? And just get in the rhythm where they know you're going to always ask that question, or they may lead with it eventually. But then give yourself a reminder that you need to text Joe or Sarah or Jeff and say, hey, while you're at whatever, cooking at the grill, somebody take me a picture of y'all cooking hamburgers. Somebody take me a picture of y'all working behind the scenes. Because another thing she said that was so important is behind social are real people. So while we know, and we've heard over and over, stories are connecting and they make such a difference, but just know that when we live, people love to see that behind the scenes, like not just all the polished fun stuff that we do on relay night or the day of, like all of that fun behind the scenes things of people painting or whatever. It just helps people, it creates some hype and helps some conversation of things going on. So those are two things, but text people, set yourself reminders, and get other people to help grab pictures. And you don't have to do all this yourself. You might be the one scheduling, but help those people. That's part of that curate conversation. Be creative, try something new, and what's the worst that's going to happen? It don't work. So then you don't have to do it again, and now you know. So we're going to talk about that some on the analytics. We're going to see numbers, but then we're going to challenge you to try some things. So so be creative. And then I loved her tip about being connected to all the other local things. We cannot be a community, and when I say we, Relay, American Cancer Society, cannot be a community that wants everybody else to share our love, and we don't share theirs. And so being connected to your hospital, being connected to your local support groups, being connected to your what's to do in town. If you want to be recognized at a local event that people should be coming to, that's a signature event, then you guys be a part of the things that are happening. I know in my town tomorrow night is National Night Out. It's a big rally being held by the Sheriff's Department. It's a national thing. So if our local event, if that's happening local, or a fall festival that's maybe not hosted by Relay, set up a booth. Be part of that. Your team or your ELT, if you're recruiting right now, go set up a booth and be present in the community in all of your last year ELT shirts or your local shirt, whatever that looks like, and just be part of what's happening and what's going on. So love that. Your homework coming away from this, your walk away, make a plan, get organized, and then just work the plan. And that, I'm not trying to minimize anything we've talked about, but just saying, don't let the plan work you. Don't let all of this stuff be overwhelming to you. Get yourself organized and try a method and try it for a little while. And if it doesn't work, try a different method, but get something that you can have a rhythm. And I love that. Even if it's lunch break, even if it's 30 minutes, even if it's an hour on Saturdays with your coffee cup before things get crazy, whatever that looks like, be consistent in the time that you're going to meet with yourself. Because again, you're the marketing arm of a small business in your community. And, you know, it's time to have a marketing meeting, and that's okay. And maybe you need to have it with someone else for a little while and then have the time afterwards for you actually do the scheduling. But, you know, don't wear all the weight of that all on your own. So we've had tons of questions, and honestly, while I've been talking, I haven't paid attention much. So if there's any questions that came in there, or before we wrap up, any questions that anybody has that we haven't covered. You can unmute yourself, or you can type it, and we'll do it. I do say don't be overwhelmed. There's so much good stuff. I was taking notes, like I have so many notes over here, and don't overwhelm that. Are we allowed to have Facebook groups in addition to a page? With the current Facebook algorithm, groups posts are seen more than the page posts. Carol, I don't know if you're still on the call. It's one of those things when you use the word, quote, allowed, it's as if there's, you know, a hard and fast rule or not. Will you address that, Carol?
Sure. There's really no hard and fast rule about having groups. Just know that if you build a group, you cannot migrate that group back into your page. So you might lose that community of people.
Yeah, that's good. And I would just say, again, pages were created for businesses. That's how Facebook set this up. And while right now their focus is on groups, that's come about in the last few months with the big change after security. Just be aware that the function of a page is related to businesses. And so you're not going to get the analytics. You're not going to get a lot of the interactions and things that you like, that you get from a page. I would maybe suggest a group is something you do for an ELT and or team captains. But from a public facing standpoint, a group is really hard to market and get people to just generically find. So that's just my 2 cents from the practical side. I didn't think we had an official don't do it stance, but I wanted Carol to check me on that because she knows way better than I do. But just know that, yeah, you can't go back. You are creating for yourself then 2 places to communicate. So again, I would challenge you, keep your page the way it functions as a business to interact with the rest. And what instead I would do is challenge people to change their notifications. And I am going to see if I can, on my screen, I don't even know what Facebook is up, but I'm going to see here and just show you, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can ask people.
While you're getting there, Keisha, I'm just going to kind of say that basically the page is like your storefront. That's what people are seeing in a social media area, where a group is more internal. So group, they've walked into the store, they're already generally interacting. So they have to join the group, where the page they can just view without actually following.
That's a great tip. I love that. I wrote it down and we're going to put that in some follow-up. It's a really great way to think about it, is engagement. It's really the engagement level of the audience. So
that's how Facebook explains it. So.
Yeah, that's why we have our Silicon Valley friend in here with us. One thing, so a great thing you could do on your screen, especially right now, or maybe you know, a few months out from your event when your people are saying, I don't hear your stuff. Well, for one, we put this in some of our best practices trainings. We can point you back to that, but people need to interact with your content to see more of your content. It's just the way Facebook works now because they want you to see the stuff you want to see. So if people say, well, I never see your posts, challenge them to go comment, challenge them to like, challenge them to interact with your stuff, and it'll start showing up in their feed. But another great thing you can do is screenshot this right here and clean up your screen and all of that. But you can screenshot this right here and show them that they can change how they're notified about your page. So they can control.
Over. It didn't change over. We're still seeing the slides.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's see here. Is that better?
There we go. Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I switched, and so thank you for telling me that. So go to your page. This is the nationwide page. But go to your page and right here on following, because they've probably already liked you. Under following, click on the little drop down arrow, and they can change how they see the information from you. So they can control that. That's one great way to help people know what's going on and to get that information higher priority in their feed. All right. Anything else? Anyone? This is all really great stuff. Well, these are the upcoming on the screen. These are the upcoming training. The next session is on October 14th. We're going to talk about understanding analytics and insights. How can we glean things from that information? And one of those will be, how do we know when our people are online and what can get our information in front of them? And then the last one for this fall is touring the tools. We talk a lot about Relay resources like Brand Toolkit, Relay Connect, yet some of us have never been there, and then they're really sometimes intimidating if we don't know what to do. So some of our other communication leads are going to walk you guys through that and share with us what we can find. And then if you have ideas for future topics, I think one was birthed tonight, Tina and Joe's best practices of getting communities excited might be on the list. But if you have ideas for those, leave them in chat, message me directly, share them with somebody that can get them to us. We are actively working on what 2020 will look like. And then I know Chris wanted to share a couple of reminders about some other training.
Yes, so a really quick plug in the Volunteer Learning Center, which is a resource available to you. We have upcoming trainings for volunteer staff partnerships in October and November that we're encouraging everyone to consider taking. It's the Working Partnership Agreement is one of the trainings, and Communication Not Confrontation is another training that we're doing, and we'll be doing some more in the spring, but I wanted to plug those really quick because we'd like to get some more people registered for those. So that's out in the Volunteer Learning Center.
That's great. Thank you for that. Just some really great resources. Our goal is to equip you in your role so you can communicate to your community and get them excited about Relay. So thank you guys for hanging with us tonight. Leave your email address in chat if you want me to send a follow-up email, but all of this will be posted on Relay Connect and now on YouTube, and we can get that all shared out. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks so much, everyone.